Welcome to the Humble ISD Advanced Learning Podcast, where our goal is to talk about anything and everything related to advanced learning in less time than it takes you to get from home to school or work. I'm Dr. Tong Utakrit, the Director of Advanced Learning here in Humble ISD. So if you've been following along, we're continuing our admissions series where we get to talk to college admissions reps from colleges and universities that our kids are interested in. And so we get to unpack things like the admissions process for all of these different schools, as well as how to navigate that full process. So today I'm joined by Nichole Howard. She is an admissions counselor for the University of Arkansas. Welcome on.
Thanks for having me. What a cool project.
Okay, so Nichole, I'd love for you to talk a little bit, starting out, about the University of Arkansas. What would you say is something that makes the University of Arkansas so special, right? Like, what makes it unique that attracts students to you?
I would say the location is key for what makes it stand out. So first of all, we're located in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is located in the foothills of the Ozark Mountains. And so it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. When I present this to students at fairs, college fairs and such, I always point to a picture, this beautiful picture of the Ozark Mountains. And so there's rolling hills inside of town, like there's beautiful vistas of the mountains from the campus, and you have 4 seasons. So you have beautiful falls, white Christmases, lush springs, and then tempered summers. And there's such beautiful places, or it is such a beautiful place, rather. And then we are voted top 10 places to live by U.S. News and Reports, the #1 college town in the SEC. And then we have the only college campus that has a mountain biking trail. And then one of the other great things about our location is that we are home to over 300 Fortune 500 companies. And that concentration of companies, the only other comparable place to that is Manhattan, New York. And so our students have access to internships and, industry professionals that no other place has other than like New York. And so it's a really cool, interesting gem of a place.
Yeah, it sounds like, you mentioned the environment, right? The setting, getting to be right there in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more about those Fortune 500s and the access that those students have? What corporations, what Fortune 5s are over there?
Well, so Walmart headquarters is in Northwest Arkansas. And what happens is they require any corporate office that they do business with to have an office in Northwest Arkansas. And so we're within 30 minutes of those companies. And so what happens is the Sam Walton College of Business, they bring in, they're constantly bringing in industry professionals that come in and do talks. And so you'll see kids, or students rather, in suits with their resumes, and they're just like, whenever a person comes on to do a talk, they'll just like hand out their resumes to random people. But these are industry professionals.
Wow. And to have that sort of ready access for your students is huge, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's incredible.
Okay, so what about some of the academic programs that would make Arkansas stand out? Like, let's talk first about some of those notable academic programs.
Yeah.
What are some of those for the University of Arkansas?
Yeah, so like I talked about, the Sam M. Walton College of Business is one of them. It has been voted the top 30 business program in the United States for the last 24 years, like consistently. So our business program is fabulous. Also, our Fay Jones School of Architecture has been nationally recognized. Dale Bumpers College of Agricultural, Food and Life Sciences, and then our School of Art. Like, our School of Art is within our Fulbright College of Arts and Sciences. I graduated from our School of Art, so I am particularly, proud of it. But they just recently received a $200 million endowment, and they are doing such great things with it. And so it's a great place to study art in mid-America.
Okay, so Nichole, you mentioned a lot, right? So between business, architecture, even the arts, when you think about a student that chooses University of Arkansas, what kind of student is that?
So our average class size or our average class had a 3.82 GPA and a 27 ACT or an 1190 SAT. And so our students do well who are academically rigorous. They're thriving in high school, and they're taking academically rigorous coursework. So say they're taking like AP, IB, dual credit courses, and they're doing well at those courses. Those are the kind of we want academically curious students and students who are thriving in high school.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit more about the admissions process? Because I know that that's a huge question that we always get in our office. So when you think about admissions to the University of Arkansas, like how do y'all review transcripts? Like, do you treat dual credit and AP differently? Do you treat some of these other programs differently when you evaluate a transcript?
Yeah. So when a student sends us a transcript, we're going to look at AP, IB, and dual credit courses, and we're going to give them 1 point higher.
Okay, so would it be too far to say, so you're treating dual credit, AP, and IB all the same as far as like course rigor evaluation?
Yes. Well, we're going to give 1 point higher.
Right.
As a weighted scale. But we do that, but we don't give extra points for pre-AP or for honors.
Okay, so you're looking purely at advanced placement or true dual credit.
True.
Okay, so one of the things that's unique here in, I'd say maybe unique in the state of Texas is we have a program called UT On-Ramps, right, where students are dually enrolled. They're taking courses through the University of Texas at Austin. Does that play a part at all, or does that get folded in under that dual credit evaluation?
As long as it's clearly marked on the transcript as APIB dual credit, we're going to count it. But as far as having any kind of like extra on-ramps, I don't know, like any kind of extra placement on the actual transcript, I don't think it counts as long as it's counted on that transcript.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at.
And then will you look at the whole transcript, or are you looking just at the core contents? Like, what does that look like?
We look at everything that's on the transcript. Sometimes transcripts, when schools send them to us, they even have 8th grade grades on them. We're going to look at those as well. Everything that's on that transcript goes on to the way that we calculate it. And we're also going to calculate it on a 4.0 scale.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you right, Nichole, that what you're saying is that if I send you a transcript and I want to get in as a first-time in college student, then you're going to recalculate back to a 4.0, but all classes, right, every class on the transcript with an extra point for AP, IB, or dual credit.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So for those of our students that might be interested, just know that that's going to be part of that transcript evaluation. So, what about one of the things also that we have in Texas, especially in Texas public schools, are graduation endorsements. Does that play a part at all in the admissions process?
Not so much.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if I'm STEM endorsement, public service. It really doesn't play a part in the admissions process.
Nope, it's just pretty much exactly what's on that transcript.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about maybe campus community and culture, right? So we talked a little bit about getting in, but what are some of those traditions or things that make campus life unique at the University of Arkansas?
So one thing that is important to note is that 60% of our freshmen are out of state. So I think what's important to note is that a lot of students come from 5 to 15 hours away from Arkansas, from Fayetteville, Arkansas. And so we have a lot of programs that make students feel at home. One of those is that we bring students onto campus a week prior to the start of classes. So we get them introduced to student organizations. We get them introduced to each other. They can start to build friendships. And then we get them introduced to Fayetteville itself and to campus. and get them kind of in a routine of what the traditions are. At orientation, we're going to show them what some of those traditions are, calling the hogs, different things like that at orientation, and then a week. We call it a week when we bring them on the week prior to the start of classes. And those are some of the things that we do. I also wanted to bring up the Pat Walker Health Center, which is something that we provide so many resources to our students. Mental health care, wellness care. The mental health care is something that most of the mental health care services that we provide are in the wellness and the healthcare service fee that is included in tuition. And so you can get those things covered. And then even our UA Cares program, which is something that if there's any help that a student needs help with, like you can just submit a care report for somebody else or for yourself. And there's this team of people that help you kind of come together and get somebody situated.
Well, what I love about that is it gives me that wraparound support, right? Especially, you mentioned a lot of your students are coming from hours away, which say like 5 hours away. And I know one of the things that might make parents nervous is, okay, I'm sending my child, maybe my first child, off to college for the very first time. What does that look like whenever they get sick? Or let's say that they're adjusting to the rigors of college coursework. To hear that a lot of that is already built in at the University of Arkansas is amazing to hear.
I know, right? Like I was a student there and I took advantage of those resources like 100%. I also want to point out that we have a teeny tiny little Walmart on campus. It's like right down the street from our Silas Hall Hunt, which is where our offices, our admissions offices, and it's got a pharmacy and it's got like all the things that you might need for your dorm room, and some Razorback gear and some food and just like all kinds of like things that you might need. Like it's an incredible resource.
Well, and again, one of the perks, right, of being right down the road from Walmart's headquarters.
Yeah.
So when you think about the students when they get there, right, a lot of different unique traditions. If I want to get in, I'm going to put my best foot forward academically. But what about some of those other things that might go into that admissions consideration, right? Are there any extracurriculars or other activities that you guys look for in the admissions process?
So we are technically a holistic review process, but the number one thing that we're going to look at is the GPA. We do not require an essay or a letter of rec or a resume. So the main thing that studies show us that the main thing that that's going to indicate whether students are going to be successful at the U of A is the GPA.
Okay. Along with that, what about college testing? Do you guys take a look at SAT and ACT scores as well?
Oh, yes, that's a very good question. So we are test optional if you are at a 3.2 or higher. So if you send us your transcript, we recalculate it to and that process that I described earlier with all those recalculations, we call it the Arkansas Standard calculation. So it's the Arkansas Standard GPA. We're going to recalculate it, and then if you're at a 3.2 or lower, we're going to require the test score. If you're at a 3.2 or higher, we're going to waive it. However, the test score is going to be required for scholarships. It's going to be required for honors, and it's also ultimately going to be required for enrollment in the university because the Department of Education does require test scores.
Okay, and I feel like we've heard that quite a bit from some of our other colleges and universities is this idea that, it might be test optional in some regard, but it usually comes with a little bit of an exception, right? Whether it be because of scholarships or other things like that to be able to capture those test scores.
Right. Like admissions, it's kind of like optional, but ultimately not so much. Okay. So it's a good idea to have a test score on hand, I would say. If you want to be competitive, I would say have that test score on hand.
Okay. And I'd love to hear a little bit more because I think sometimes people are concerned about test scores. Are test scores helpful only, or is it one of those things I need to be choosy about the scores that I send over?
That's a great question. And I would say one of the things that is really important, I would say, in applying to universities is getting to know your admissions counselor. Like, really, you are assigned, when you start to apply, you're going to be assigned to an admissions counselor, and you can reach out to them and you can ask them those questions. For us, we're going to focus on the GPA, right? Like, for us, the test score, not so much. We're really going to focus on the GPA. So that's us. But for other universities, that may not be the case. And so it's really going to vary institution to institution.
Okay. And you talked about recalculating the GPA. So if I've got my transcript and my GPA from my high school, is there a way that I could see what that recalculation would look like for the University of Arkansas?
Yes. So if you send me an email, I will literally send you the formula for how we're going to recalculate it, and you can do it yourself really quickly so that you know what we're going to come up with.
Okay. Can we go back to are there other, when you look at it, so you said transcripts, yes, but no letters of rec, no anything like that. So would it be too far of a stretch to say then that it doesn't really impact a student when it comes to like extracurriculars or clubs?
I think it does, because when you're applying to scholarships, they're really going to look at that. Okay. I think it is important to be really active and involved in your high school.
Okay. But for admissions, does it play a part at all? Or is it mostly scholarships?
It's mostly scholarships for us. But when you're looking at other institutions, they're probably, if they're doing a holistic review, they might be looking at that as well.
Okay. And obviously, I want to unpack a little bit because University of Arkansas, of course, is out of state for us here in Texas.
Right.
And sometimes out of state carries a higher price tag. Like, what are the resources or things in place that would make it easier to access or more accessible for families when they see that out of state tuition rate?
Sure. So we have the NRTA, the Non-Resident Tuition Award. And so if you meet you have to have a social security number and a certain GPA, and we will take a huge chunk off of the out-of-state tuition for you.
Okay, and that's automatic based off of GPA?
Correct. It's not a separate application. When you apply, this is the tricky part. It's when you apply, you do have to put your social security number in. A lot of students skip that part, and then they're like thinking that their NRTA is going to come through, and they send me an email and they're like, "Where's my NRTA?" And I'm like, and I look, and then I don't see the social security number, and I'm like, well, you've got to go through all these steps now so that we can confirm, and then you'll be awarded. Okay,
but is it a stretch to say that does it get it closer to be competitive with some of our in-state schools?
So if you have a 3.8 GPA, we're going to get you down to like about $12,500, which in-state tuition for Arkansans is about $10,000.
Okay, so it's real close.
Very close. And then in addition to that, you can apply to competitive scholarships. Now, those competitive scholarships are highly competitive, but if you have good test scores and good GPA, you can be competitive.
Yeah. And I think I love getting to hear about that because sometimes for our families, the thought of going out of state or private, it's a little bit daunting for them, or they say, oh, well, is it really worth the out of state price tag or the private price tag? But hearing that there's non-resident, scholarships and different things like that, I think it is hugely beneficial for families when they say, okay, maybe the University of Arkansas could make my list if it brings down that rate a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's also great that it's like GPA based, so it gives you an incentive for doing well in school.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously in your role, you get to meet with a lot of students that are thinking about college, starting that journey. So if you had to think about the best advice for students that are starting to plan out their journey for life after high school, what advice would you give them? Like, you obviously said Arkansas doesn't look at recommendations or anything like that. But if somebody was really interested in the University of Arkansas, what advice would you give to that student when they're starting their journey?
Apply early.
And what's the earliest they can do that?
July 15th.
Okay. And July 15th of like going into my senior year then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All we need is a transcript and a copy of your transcript. We don't even need anything official.
Okay.
Like, you can take a photo of your ninth. All we need is 9th through 11th grade grades. And you can apply on our institutional app. And like I said, like, we don't need the resume or the essay. With the Common App, they're going to require that you do the essay. So with our institutional app, it's not going to be there. So you can apply in like 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. And is there a specific, like, I even hate to ask, like a guaranteed admissions cutoff? Like, if my GPA is a certain, like, is there any sort of thing like that?
No, we don't have automatic admissions. Like, we don't have that. So, no.
Okay.
Basically, no. But the best chances for you as an out-of-state student is to apply early.
Okay. Apply early, even if it's an unofficial transcript. Look at that July date going into my senior year.
Yeah. And our priority deadline is November 1st. And we are technically rolling admissions, but it's November 1st, because sometimes our wait list can go, because we are one of the fastest growing flagship universities. Like, over the last 5 years, we've grown 24%. That is unheard of for universities. Like, we are growing. Like, people are finding out that we're a gym, right? And so it's becoming increasingly more competitive to get in than in years past. And so sometimes our wait list can go into effect pretty quickly. We have to cap our freshman class at 7,000. Like, that's coming from...
Yeah, from the university saying this is what it is.
Yes. So it's just becoming more and more competitive. And so this is what I push, like, in the spring when I'm going and I'm recruiting the juniors for the class coming up. I'm like, please, please, please apply early.
Okay, so if I apply early though, is it if I'm a strong candidate, my GPA is strong, is it almost like I have, like, if I'm strong, I know there's not an automatic cutoff.
Yeah.
But do I almost get like a leg up or almost like dibs on an available spot because I'm a strong applicant and I applied early?
Well, you have a much stronger chance, and also it's you have a much stronger chance on admission to the university, and then you have a much better place on housing as well. Housing is everything at Arkansas is first come, first serve.
Gotcha.
And it's best to go ahead and do everything early, because everything at Arkansas is also non-binding. And so if you change your mind, no problem. Like, you can always...
Okay, it's like no risk. I might as well.
It's no risk.
Okay.
At all. So it's completely, like, you can change your mind on anything. So
that's good to hear. Nichole, I want to shift gears a little bit, because let's say, okay, I've made it in. Let's say I've given my transcript, I've applied early, and I get my acceptance. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to go to the University of Arkansas. What about once I get in? You mentioned some of the mental health supports and health supports. What other support systems are in place at the University of Arkansas to help to make sure that I'm successful and that I don't end up failing out?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. So we spent like millions of dollars on this resource called The Cord, and it's got its own building, and all students need to do is like walk through the door. There's a welcome center. They say what they need, and then they are directed. So it has tutoring, it has financial aid advising, it has career advising, it has career counseling, it has a quesadilla bar and a Starbucks. It has SI, supplemental instruction. So what supplemental instruction is if you are in a science class that has 100 or more, which is most, then you can go to supplemental instruction. And what the professor does is the professor provides notes for SI, and the student can go in and they can actually, like a couple of times a week, and they can do the supplemental instruction and get additional class time, essentially, with their peers. And sometimes the professor can give extra credit for that.
Oh, wow.
Because the numbers show that students who use SI are so much more successful because it's that effective.
And that's already included in my cost of tuition, right?
Yeah, in the tutoring is also in the cord. And there's tutoring like everywhere. And the writing center is in the cord. Like there's everything. First gen students have resources in the cord. It's like everything is in the cord.
And it is central, right? What I love about that is that I'm not having to hunt like, okay, I need financial aid support or I need academic support. I could just go to the cord and I'll get directed to where I need to go.
Yes.
All right. So I'd love for us to talk a little bit more about, when I go to college, obviously I'm going to get a great education, but the goal is for me to be able to get a good job at the end of that. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe an alumni network or post-graduation opportunities that students that attend the University of Arkansas get access to?
Yes. So the alumni networks in Texas are the largest outside of the state of Arkansas. And the largest ones are in Dallas and Houston. And in Houston, you can easily you can email, you can contact the Houston chapter, and you can get all the support that you need on networking. And they have plenty of networking events, watch parties, and even scholarships. And so those chapters within Houston and even Dallas are incredibly strong.
Okay. Do they help with job placement as well? Like if I'm approaching the end of my time at the University of Arkansas, what does that job placement look like for me to get leads to jobs?
Yeah. So you can just connect with the Alumni Association and they will 100% I didn't use the Alumni Association, but my boss did when she was initially getting out and going into the field, and they immediately sprung into action and helped her and put her into contact with everyone that she was, getting, and she got a job based on those contacts.
Well, and that's sometimes the case, right? You've heard the adage, right? It's not what you know, but who you know. Uh-huh. And I know one of the biggest benefits of going to a notable flagship like the University of Arkansas is access to that sort of network as well.
Right.
Okay, so Nichole, I know we're getting kind of close to the end of our time here, but you get to work with a lot of students that are looking not just at the University of Arkansas, but just looking at college in general. And you mentioned a piece of advice earlier to apply early to the University of Arkansas. But what about for the best piece of advice that you could give to a student that is looking at college and that college admissions process, along with applying early to the University of Arkansas? What's that other piece of advice that you would give them?
Get to know your admissions counselor because they want to help you. And they also are going to have all the secret sauce. We are going to have a certain set of different things that we're going to need. You can either go into the admissions page on every college that you're applying to, and you can read the fine script and figure out what they need and everything. But the other option is once you start getting into the process, you can go into sign up for a lead. And once that admissions counselor emails you, you can email back and say, hey, I'm interested in your school and I want to know what the most important things are. Like, what are the due dates? Do you have automatic admission? Do you look holistically at applications? Like, what's the deal? What's the down low?
Right.
They want to help you and they will get back with you because they want you to come to their school.
Yeah.
So create a spreadsheet of like all the institutions that you're applying for. Get the deadlines on all of the institutions that you're applying for. I don't know. Maybe you're applying to 12. Maybe you're only applying to 3. Get that information down and be on top of it.
Yeah.
Be organized.
Okay.
And take ownership of this process yourself.
Yeah, and I love hearing that, right? Because we're looking at a student who is getting ready to graduate high school and is going to be off on their own. And so this idea of taking ownership, I think, is hugely important as a student is looking to navigate that. But along the same veins, we've also got some parents and some guardians that are helping to come alongside our students to help them navigate this. So what would be your best piece of advice for a parent or guardian that's coming alongside their student as they're thinking about college?
Let your student take ownership of this process. Like, support them, push them to send the email, push them to make the call, but don't do it for them.
Yeah, because I think, again, when they're off on their own, they might not have that parent or guardian there every single time reminding them of those things.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, this is a great opportunity for that student to really learn some skills and independence.
Okay. Nichole, we've had just a little bit of time today, but if parents and students want to learn more about the University of Arkansas, how can they do that?
You can go to our admissions page, www.admissions.uark.edu. Whenever I want to find out anything about Arkansas, all I do is type in what I want to learn, and then I type in UArk.
Okay.
So admissions, UArk. Engineering, UArk. The cord, UArk.
Okay, and that pops up those results for
Yes, UArk is a magical word that makes all your searches like fruitful.
Okay, and Nichole, am I correct in understanding that you are kind of the Houston-based person for the University of Arkansas?
So I have a counterpart. I have a coworker who covers South Houston and Austin, and I cover North Houston and San Antonio.
Okay, so for us here in Humble ISD, you are our person.
That's me.
And so could I put your contact information down in the show notes as well for people to reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So if you are subscribed, don't forget that I'll put those down in the show notes so that you can reach out to Nichole directly so that she can probably get you set up campus tours and different things of the sort.
Yeah.
Awesome. Nichole, we really appreciate you coming on today, getting to hear about things like the cord, the Walmart on campus, the employment opportunities. I love that that's just so unique to the University of Arkansas, and I know that's going to be such a blessing for our families when they look into it.
Mm-hmm. It's been great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Look, that's all the time we have today for the Advanced Learning Podcast. You can follow us again on social media at HumbleISD_ADV. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be notified when we drop a new episode talking about anything and everything related to advanced learning. This is Dr. Tong Utakrit, and this has been the Advanced Learning Podcast, keeping you ahead of the learning curve in Humble ISD.